Mystery Mine at Dollywood is a controversial topic for most coaster enthusiasts. Many people seem to hate on this 2007 Gerstlauer Eurofighter for a few key reasons. The first reason, prior to the 2021 season, this was a very rough ride from what I've heard, and I've heard that the transitions were somewhat questionable, leaving many people to get headbanging. Combine that with the over-the-shoulder restraints, and I heard that this wasn't a very pleasant ride experience. The second key reason would have to be the boring ride experience, and I would sadly have to agree with this one, as the middle half of the ride is pretty boring, as it mixes in a lot of trim breaks which slow you down to a near halt, and some pretty bad transitions, though will leave you in some headbanging. Though somehow I came off this ride with a giant smile in my face, and this was one of the highlight rides of my trip to Dollywood, and today I'll tell you why in my review of Mystery Mine. So why do I like Mystery Mine so much? I think a big thing is the theming, as I'm a really theming guy, and I haven't really been to a Universal or a Disney park in a long time, so I've really taken my time to appreciate the theming that this ride has to offer, especially at a park like Dollywood, which in my opinion is more of an amusement park. This is 100% their best themed roller coaster, and it really shows in the queue line and during the ride experience. And easily my favorite part of the theming was the vulture outside of the ride's entrance.
You know, folks, it's a mystery to me how I ended up so dang handsome. My daddy was as ugly as a buzzard.
I also really enjoyed the sleek, rustic look of the station and the station music that played, as it will always get stuck in your head every single time. A few other things to note before I get into the ride experience. This thing you will have to wait a long time for. As one, the capacity isn't good at all, holding only 6 cars of 8 riders per car, and another thing is, this is one of Dollywood's most popular attractions. Every time I rode Mystery Mine, it was a 60 to 90 minute wait throughout the day. Another thing to note before riding Mystery Mine is that you're not allowed to pick your row. This wasn't too much of an inconvenience for me, as there are only 2 rows, but I did get the front each time, and I'm sure that is the better row, mostly for the visuals. So now, let's go a little bit more in depth on the ride experience itself. To start off the ride, you go into a small dip into a smoke effect. Then you navigate a whole lot of twists, turns, through theming elements. There is also a really cool trick track element here, which caught me completely off guard. Then you emerge into the daylight with a vertical lift. I absolutely adore these vertical lifts, and I wish there were more of them throughout the world, as it is one of the coolest sensations just lying on your back, staring straight up into the sky. You would think that you would go into a vertical drop just like a lot of the Gerstlauer Eurofighters, but no, you just take a small dip to the left and then an airtime hump into the right until another block zone. This block zone slows you down quite a bit, so be prepared for that. Then you go into the ride's first big drop. This drop gives some good ejector airtime in, well, the front row, and I'm sure it does the same for the back row. Then you slide into another brake run, which will slow you down quite a bit before going into a little helix around the terrain, before diving back down into an airtime hill, which gives a tiny pinch of floater before taking a few turns before entering another indoor section. So many people seem to complain about this part of the ride for being boring and rough, and I would only have to agree with one of those things, as I don't think this part is rough at all. I didn't get any headbanging at all, but if I did get headbanging, this would probably be a real downer on this ride, because this section of the ride, I would agree, is pretty boring. Besides the drop, all you do is navigate some pretty pointless turns, and that would be okay if this were a family coaster, but it's not, and this was probably the most disappointing part of the ride for me. But the action picks up again when you go back into the ride's show building. So then you hit another block section, which takes you into the haunted part of the mine. It holds you here long enough for you to see and really appreciate the theming that this ride has to offer. Then you go into the ride's second vertical lift, and this one I would say is a lot scarier than the first. At this point, you are staring vertically to a projection of lightning and different things falling at you, which made my palms sweat. Then you go into a little holding section before going into the best sequence of elements on the ride. First, you hit a fire effect, which is absolutely awesome and gets you pumped up for the rest of the ride. Then you go into a 95-degree vertical drop, which will give some absolutely amazing ejector airtime, before going into the double barrel roll finale. The first Heartline roll is insanely whippy and will give a good amount of laterals. Then you head into the second barrel roll into a dive drop, which will give some really good sustained hang time, before you go down and get a good airtime pop into the final brake run. This concludes your 1,804-foot ride on Mystery Mine. Many people would tend to criticize Mystery Mine's ride experience, but I came off the ride with a big smile on my face, and I really enjoyed it for what it was. So, in conclusion, what would I rate Mystery Mine? I will give Mystery Mine an 8.5 out of 10. There is a half a point taken off for the over-the-shoulder restraints, which are very bulky, and a whole point taken off for that pretty lackluster first half. But overall, I really enjoyed Mystery Mine, and I would completely recommend it for anyone looking to visit Dollywood in the future. I guarantee that you will come off this ride with a smile on your face, as it's really hard not to, because it's just a really fun time in general. Now, it looks like that is going to do it for my review of Mystery Mine. What are your thoughts on Mystery Mine? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you enjoyed this review, make sure to subscribe or maybe even just leave a like, as it really helps me out. Now, without further ado, I really hope you guys enjoyed the review, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.